Our guest this week grew up just outside Manchester with dreams of becoming a footballing legend. Instead, he scored as a member of one of the biggest-selling boy bands of the 90s. Since then, he emerged victorious from the Big Brother house, watched his best mate become one of the biggest pop stars on the planet, and moved to the country for a quiet life. That is all about to change, though, as his old band are back together for a tour that sold out in 30 minutes. We brought him back home today to Manchester as the Orange playlist welcomes Mark Owen.
I had my first snog in Failsworth in a phone box. I wanted to be a footballer. That was my kind of dream. If you wake up in the morning, you know, open your curtains, and there are like 30 people just like going, hey! Like...
Mark, welcome to the Orange playlist.
Hello, Jane. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very excited, actually.
About the playlist?
About the playlist.
Being in Manchester.
Or about being with you.
Now, we have brought you back home.
Yes.
You did grow up just up the road, I believe.
Yeah, about 4 miles away. I was known as being a piehead because my mates at school were in the Manchester postcode, but I was in the Lancashire postcode. So I was called a piehead. I always felt a little bit out, really, you know, because if you're from Manchester, you're a little bit cooler. We used to go roller skating at a place called the Roxy. And so we used to try roller skating around the rink chasing the ladies. I had my first snog in Failsworth in a phone box, but we broke up the next day because she had quite a loud laugh.
Tell me about your first musical experience.
My mum was an Elvis fan, and she kind of directed me in that way, you know. And I used to get all the annuals and stuff. But at a weekend, we used to go to my cousin's house. We used to grease our hair back, but not with, you know, hair gel, with, like, butter, you know. Anything lard,
yes,
basically
nice.
proper grease. And all pretend to be teddy boys. And my dad played in a band called the Exiles. He played guitar on some of the early Take That B-sides. He said it was the most nerve-wracking time of his life. I wanted to be a footballer. That was my kind of dream. I used to train like mad every night. I'd be out there. I wanted to be Diego Maradona.
How did it become music and not football?
When I was about 14, 15, I was doing really well and there was a lot of hope, but I always seemed to be injured. We got invited down to Manchester United, to the Cliff, which is where they train. We went down, but we got beat 14-1.
That's really,
so
really rubbish.
Kind of killed the dream, really. And then I joined an agency in Manchester. It was like a casting, they did loads of stuff, acting, so that's kind of how I got into the band.
Did you know at the time that you were going to be so big?
I think the naivety of being so young, we thought on our first day of meeting we were going to be the biggest band in the world. We decided, you know, on that day what we were going to buy with our first paycheck and that we should finish on top. And that was, we had no doubt that we were going to be huge.
What was the thing that you wanted to buy with your first paycheck?
Car. I bought a Ford Fiesta, a white Ford Fiesta.
Get lost.
I did.
Not with your first paycheck.
It was ace. Fantastic motor.
When did you sort of realise how big the band was?
I think the biggest shock was that it didn't happen immediately for us. I remember when we released our first single, Do What You Like, we were all around at Nigel's house with bottles of champagne and we sat in Nigel's house listening to the charts, and when we got to number 2 we actually thought we'd gone in at number 1.
No
Only
way.
to find out the next day that we went in at 82.
You're all painted in a very squeaky clean manner,
Yeah.
you boys. Surely there was some rock and roll moments.
Without doubt. I mean, I think...
Girls?
Oh, yeah. We partied. We were young. It was just like, you know, we went to, you know, partying clubs, drink. But growing up, it's like... I think what it is, it's like anybody else on a Friday or Saturday night, just that every night was probably a Friday or Saturday night for us, really.
What was it like, though, being that young, growing up in public?
I used to wake up in the morning and I had this little flat, and the facing my flat was a hill. And if you wake up in the morning, you know, open your curtains, and there were like 30 people just like going, hey! Like, I remember my street where I lived, Coxter Hill Road in Oldham, having to be closed off by the police because of the amount of people that were outside the door. It was weird. It was a bizarre world, but I wouldn't change anything, you know, about it. It was an amazing experience.
Well, I'm going to take you into your past track. Jeff Buckley and Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Why have you gone for that one in particular?
I think that it was a big inspiration for me writing. I remember I was in New York. We were meeting this guy called Clive Davis, who was head of like Arista. And I remember sitting down in his office once with Gary, and he was playing us this song. I think it was a Whitney Houston song, and he was saying, just listen to the way she delivers that song, and you know, the soul that's in her voice, and you know, that's how your songs have to be. And I think 2 days before, I'd just been listening to Jeff Buckley, and to listen to Whitney Houston in comparison to that, I was sat there thinking, I can't go down that road now. I've had me awakening.
Well, it goes like this, the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, hallelujah.
I think Jeff Buckley kind of introduced me to a way of singing with soul and just an amazing voice that I'd never really heard before. It wasn't all about a drum beat, it was just a beautiful voice singing from the heart, really.
So in '94, when Grace was released, whereabouts in your life were you?
I think that I was probably starting to try and find out a little bit more about myself. I'd started to get a little bit into meditation. Lulu taught me how to meditate. I just used to always walk past and smell this incense, and one day I thought, I'm going to have to knock on and find out what's going on in there. I spent a few years doing it, and it was good at the time.
We've come so far, and we've reached so hard.
What's your costumes going to be?
I know,
Tight
yeah.
leather this time?
No, I was wondering whether we can get body doubles. You know, like actors and actresses get like, you know, body doubles. I know Julia Roberts apparently has a bum double. I thought maybe I can get myself a bum double.
Your bum's all right.
Well,
So earlier.
Cheers, love.
I guess now it's time that you came back for good.
The songwriting is something that you didn't take up until after you left Take That.
I mean, that was an amazing experience for me after, you know, after the band, because I just started writing. I think I'd probably wrote at that point Child. I got another manager, and she said, who would you like to work with? And I just said John Leckie. I made a record at Abbey Road Studios, and it was just a dream for me. We had great musicians, and I think I was the fifth person to do a concert at Abbey Road since the Beatles. I mean, come on, coming from Take That to then making an album at Abbey Road Studios with John Leckie, it was a dream.
Takes us into present day track.
Yes.
Mark, you've gone for Rufus Wainwright.
Yes, one of my favourite artists at the moment. The song is called Oh What a World, which is off his One album. It's a very grand song, beautiful, quite kitsch. And there's a line in there, why am I always on a plane or a fast train? And I feel like this last year for me, with the touring and the work, has been a bit like that. So it feels quite appropriate.
You seem to be into your introspective singer-songwriters. Do you think that's the sort of artist you are now, or you want to become?
I think it's probably the artist that I am. It's lyrics that are very important to me, which is probably very different from what the old days used to be. You know, only takes a minute, girl, to fall in love is, you know, not a classic line for me. Gary didn't write it, so I'm not slagging off Gary. It's a Tavares song, but I like songs that have a bit of meaning, a bit of depth to it.
Mark, you are on tour at the minute. Here we are at the venue. It's very exciting being actually sat on the stage you will be performing on.
Yes.
What have you got in store for the audience tonight?
Songs, performance, busking some moves, great band, great songs, and I think we're going to have a full house tonight, so it's going to be a great atmosphere.
What's it like being on the road these days, we a band?
I love it. I think we've known each other for a few years now, and a real good vibe on the road. Everybody's really together.
Your future track, Mark?
I was fortunate enough in Germany not too long ago to be able to review 10 new albums. My winner was a band called Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah. And I think the single is This Love. He's just got an amazing voice on him. I almost said it's all quite spoken, quite chanty. And just the sound of it. And I think that's my tip for 2006.
strange because usually our artists that we have on the show, when you say, right, future hits, they go for one of their own. Why did you choose not to?
Well, that's not what it's about, though, is it? This is like a soundtrack to your life. I'm not very good at selling myself. I never have been, really. It's always been a bit of a problem. I'm not a marketing man, really, more creative. I'm proud of what I do, but I like people to discover for themselves, really, rather than me throw it into their face. Always looks a little bit naff, doesn't it?
Our musical gossip and chat with Mark Owen continues as he reveals more of his Orange playlist. Still to come, his dedication and all-time favourite song. All this plus more on the way.
Well, for 6 years it wasn't intentional. I couldn't get a bloody song listened to. They probably just turn up, oh, Rob's here, he's coming up, you know. But fingers crossed. Take That and Radiohead, very similar.
Today's guest is Mark Owen, the man voted sexiest on Planet Pop 3 years in a row during his days in the much-loved Take That. Now the boys are back together again. I've come to Manchester to find out a little bit more from the man himself, plus discuss that all-important soundtrack to his life.
I couldn't get a bloody song listened to, really. I was going around every record company in the world, but nobody was interested. I remember coming up and just seeing a sea of people, and my first thought was, do you have to sing louder?
You are quite a private person.
Yeah.
How have you maintained that sort of level of privacy?
Well, for 6 years it wasn't intentional. I couldn't get a bloody song listened to, really. I was going around every record company in the world, but nobody was interested. I was trying to make noises, but it didn't really happen. I had people saying, you know, you've had your time and stuff like that, and it's not nice, really. I learnt a lot whilst in Take That. I always say it was a bit like a college or a university, you know. I went into the band, you know, maybe listening to Boyz II Men and came out listening to Radiohead or something like that. There's nothing like writing your own songs. Me and Rob wrote a middle eight on shore. The holding, squeezing, touching, teasing bit, we wrote that in Korea. We were very pleased. We just sat down in my room one night trying to find all the words that ended in ing. And that was it, easy. We thought we can do this writing lark.
So you still got quite a close relationship now?
When I was in LA making the record, we got together, he'd come down to the studio, I'd go up to his house and play a bit of football and play some songs. So I see him now and again, but not that often.
You got on stage in Nebworth?
Yeah, no, that was an experience.
What was that like?
Amazing. I was stood at the side of the stage and I was kind of looking out and, you know, I could only see an angle kind of off there and I was thinking, this isn't that big, Nebworth. There's only about 10,000, no problem here. But then I came out of the floor and I remember coming up and just seeing a sea of people. And my first thought was, do you have to sing louder?
Do you think he will make a guest appearance on the last one?
Who knows? It'd be great if he did, but I think it'd be a surprise. It'd probably be a surprise to us if he did as well. He'd probably just turn up. Oh, Rob's here, he's coming up, you know. But fingers crossed, I'd like him to. I know, maybe he's sat watching telly and there's not much on one night and he might think, oh, the lads are on in town, maybe I'll go and sing a little bit of Everything Changes But You.
Your dedication track, you have to dedicate it to someone special in your life, Mark. You have chosen...
My band?
You've chosen your band, right, okay, fine. And what's the song you're going to dedicate to your band?
As soon as we're in Manchester, we've gone for Joy Division and Love Will Tear Us Apart.
It's a really weird song to dedicate to someone. Do you think love will tear you and your band apart? Is this a premonition?
We've had a good year together. We've been out on the road for the whole year, and we are now, I suppose, in February, kind of going our separate ways for a while I go and do the Take That thing. So, yeah, Take That will tear us apart.
Why do you think Manchester has produced so many amazing acts over the years?
And the people, really. There's a real kind of rootsy kind of feeling here. The voices, they've got something to say. They've got opinions, and I think that's great.
And it rains a lot, so they sit in their
bedrooms. And it rains a lot, so
guitars.
that's a much better reason. That's probably it, yeah. We have a lot of rain, so we all sit in.
Tell me about your new material. What's the sort of flavour of it?
It kind of goes a bit all over the show. I think the freedom that knowing I was doing it myself, just allowed me to express myself in any way that I wanted to, really. I just like the freedom that it gives you. Basic things like going over to America to record the album and, you know, working with the people that you want to work with Tony Hoffa on the new record.
Because he's worked with Beck and
Supergrass, The Thrills. It was a total pleasure to go out to LA for 6 weeks and record over there. And Tony said at the end that it was his proudest work to date. He probably says it to everybody. But,
yeah, of course
on the last day, yeah.
Your all-time favourite song now, Mark. It is time for the big one. What have you gone for?
Well, probably my all-time favourite band, of which there's probably many songs you can choose, but the band is Radiohead. I remember being in Acapulco, and I was lying on the beach, and then when this song kicked in, the song is exit music from a film, and Tom sings, "Wake from your sleep, dry your tears." I just went, oh God, I might as well give up.
Wait.
Why do you think Radiohead are so popular with musicians?
When they did OK Computer, they then went completely off and into Kid A and that kind of way. They didn't try and repeat that. Lyrically, a stunning band. I think they've inspired so many artists over the years in a similar way to Take That did. Take That and Radiohead, very similar actually.
Have you ever seen them play live?
Many times. Many times. My first time I went to see them was in Stoke. After the show, a bit embarrassing really, they said, "Do you want to meet the band?" Like the bloke, and I walked upstairs. I walked into the room, and I think Tom came over and he said, "Do you want a drink?" And I saw that he had a kind of red stripe in his hand. I never drink beer. I just copied off him, you know, and I'm sat there with this beer. It was the first time I was ever a little bit starstruck, really, in the Radiohead dressing room. I didn't really know what to say. Just sat there with my beer, really quiet.
You have seen and done so much in
Yeah.
your life. What would you like to achieve now?
My main aim is just to carry on doing what I am, continue touring. That's all I want to do, really, and a family, I guess.
Mark, thank you very much for joining us on the Orange Playlist today. Your choices have been brilliant.
Thank you.
And it has been the soundtrack to your life, so thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.